What is up, guys? You're back with another video. Today we are going to be talking about severe weather and tropical weather today on the channel here. So one thing I'm going to say here, guys, is thank you so much for all the support on the channel lately. It does mean a lot to me. I can't believe that I've gone this far in weather, and I'm just very happy about it. Thank you guys so much here. So on the day one outlook, we do have slight risk of severe weather. We've been having tons of slight risk lately. It's just like that every day almost. So we do have a slight risk of severe weather down here in Wyoming and Nebraska and South Dakota here. And there's like Rapid City up to Spearfish and Newcastle here are possibly going to be impacted by this severe weather today. So if you are in those areas, I would be weather aware because there is a slight risk of severe weather today. The main threats there's no tornado threat today, luckily. The main threats do include wind and possible hail damage today. So you do need to be weather aware for some isolated damaging winds and hail today in that area. So, yeah. We also do have another area of a slight risk of severe weather today. This does extend into Washington and Baltimore, Harrisonburg, Frederick, Annapolis, Waldorf, and Fredericksburg here. So that is something you need to be weather aware for in these areas here. This is in Virginia and Maryland here. So you need to be weather aware if you do end up being in those areas today. As the main threats do include wind damage, the hail threat is on the lower side, but there still is that threat, but I would be mostly paying attention to wind damage, so just be weather aware for that today. Now we're going to take a look at the day 2 outlook here. On the day 2 outlook, we have a big slight risk of severe weather today that extends all the way from Washington, D.C., all the way up to Boston here. The potential areas of severe weather do include Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Trenton, Dover, New York, Bridgeport, Islip, Hartford, Springfield, Providence, Boston, and Lowell are many areas that could potentially be impacted by this in the northeast here. The main threats do include wind damage. There's no tornado threat, luckily. The main threats do include wind damage, but there is an isolated risk for hail. But the main threat I would be paying attention to is wind damage for tomorrow in that area. There's also another slight risk tomorrow. This does extend all the way from extreme eastern portions of Montana into North Dakota and South Dakota here. The potential areas of this slight risk do include Rapid City, Pierre, Dickinson, Baker, Glendive, Sidney, Williston, Newtown, and Bismarck here. That is some potential areas that could be impacted by this risk tomorrow here. This is a 2 out of 5 slight risk. There is no tornado threat on the luckily side, but there is a threat for wind damage and hail damage here. So you need to be weather aware for wind damage and hail damage here. Make sure you have a plan and be prepared here. Now on the day 3 outlook, there's just a little marginal risk. So I get mostly on the mostly side these marginal risks. Just some normal strong thunderstorms. Not anything severe, mostly strong, but I would just stay a little bit weather aware, but that's not really much you need to be paying attention to. There. So, yeah. So now we are going to take a look at the tropics. So now, if we do take a look at the tropics here, the tropics are quite active for July 1st here. We do have a big area of storms in this area, which there is Tropical Storm Bonnie active. This is about to make landfall in Nicaragua and Costa Rica here. So if you do potentially live in Nicaragua and Costa Rica, you need to be very weather aware, as you are about to get hit by a strong tropical storm here that could provide many areas of flooding and strong winds with this here. This is a very organized area. The main area where this is right in that little region here, as there's just convection blowing up, and this is a very organized storm here. Also, the National Hurricane Center does predict this to become a hurricane once it gets out to the Pacific here. But on the luckily side, it won't be impacting anything by the time it does become a hurricane forecasted here. We also do have a little 10% area of invest here. This is a tropical development chance is a 10% chance in 2 days and 5% and 10% chance in 5 days. So the overall chance is very low with this here. We'll just be keeping an eye on this. It's very disorganized area of convection here. Of just showers and thunderstorms. It's very disorganized. That's why the threat for this to become a tropical cyclone is very low. But I would be keeping an eye out on this, as this does have some potential, as this has a lot of areas to head for here in its future. We also do have another area of a potential tropical development chance. This is a little area over here into Georgia, off the coast here into Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina in the U.S. here. We do have a 10% chance of development in the next 2 days and the next 5 days here. The overall threat is a very low threat here, as most of these storms are very not organized. This area there's not a lot of organized storms here, which is very good. But I still would be weather aware down here in off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, as you could see a lot of rain that could potentially cause flooding here. But once this probably does end up heading onto the coast during the next day or so, it will probably not become anything as a tropical cyclone, just mostly heavy rain here. That's something I would just be keeping an eye out on, but nothing in the way of tropical cyclone, just heavy rainfall and flooding. And it's not really going to feel like a tropical, anything of tropical, because it's not going to provide the winds or anything, because it is very disorganized here. So now we are going to take a look at the models here. So this is the last thing we are going to look at here. Actually, not the last thing. But, so we are going to take a look at the severe weather models today. Today we do have a lot of convection areas potential. The models does show that there could be some big thunder boomers here, with potential some big hail and wind damage today here in that region. So that is something I would be keeping an eye out on, as that does head through. It does seem around 6 p.m. Central Time. This does mostly is a little more supercellular in nature, which the bigger hail threat. And then about by 7 p.m. Central Time, this does look to become more of a line of potential damaging wind gusts here as it does stretch through. That's something I would be keeping an eye out on for severe potential here. In these areas, there could be some possible areas of convection near Washington. But besides that, there's no longer a watch put up, and this slight risk of severe weather is basically done for here, which is always a good sign. We're going to take a look at the NAM 3-kilometer model here. So we can take a look further out at potential severe weather in the next few days here. So for the Northeast, we are going to take a look at the potential risk for some severe weather. So about 12 p.m., not much. There could be a little bit of convection up here close to Boston over there, but really not much we're seeing at the moment around 2 p.m. Central. Actually, okay, 3 p.m. Eastern time, because these people are Eastern time, around 3 p.m. Eastern time here. But by around 5 p.m. Eastern time here, we do start to see a lot more convection starting to form out here, as we do have a lot of areas. This could be severe. The hail threat is definitely on the lower side, but there could be some wind damage, also some potential severe weather over there here by 5 p.m. And by around 6 p.m. Eastern time, we have a lot of severe storms, potentially severe storms, heading into Washington, Baltimore, and Philadelphia here. Something you need to be keeping an eye on and being weather aware. Also coming into Boston here, we do have some potential severe weather. By about 10 p.m. here, we do have a lot of storms here heading into Providence, especially New York here. Could get some severe storms. That's something to be weather aware for in those areas for some significant wind damage here. So, by tomorrow's outlook, so it seemed to be probably a later event for the southeast here. But by around, not sure if these people are mountain time or not. I'll just call it central time. Whatever. By around 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time, we do have some thunderstorms popping up here near Dickinson. And some all the other thunderstorms popping up there in Montana here. And those could be severe. They could have some hail with this. This is something you need to be very well aware for. Also, by around 8 p.m. Central Time, we do have some big-time storms forming, especially in Williston. You are getting some big-time thunderstorms in that area. This could be hail makers and even wind makers with that there, as that does stretch through. And this is mainly the NAM 3 kilometer thinks that it might be one of the only storms to form here, but there could be some more storms here. This is literally about 6 in the morning Central Time here. So this storm threat is mostly an overnight threat. So just be weather aware for that, for wind damage and hail damage there. So the last thing we are going to do here is we are going to take a look at the area of potential temperatures. We're going to look at the temperatures in the next few days and how hot it's going to be in these areas here. We're going to look at the models. We're going to look at the NAM 3 kilometer model to tell you what the temperatures will look like in the next 2 days here. And how hot your weather will be in these areas in the next few days. So today, by around 2 p.m. Central Time, we do have some very, very hot weather centered into this region here. I guess I gotta put in Florida too. And this area has a lot of very warm weather today here. Even down here, a lot of warm weather. So that is what we're going to be looking at today. And then more once you get into the mountainy areas, up in this region is having some cooler weather today here. And then also over up here in the north, it's going to be warm. Not hot, but it's going to be warm. But anywhere basically to the south of this little line I'm showing you right here, in this little line I'm showing you here, will have very hot weather here. So that's something you need to know about here if you are planning on doing anything. Now for tomorrow's weather, we're going to take a look at Saturday's weather here. So on Saturday, there is some pretty warm weather centered in a lot of areas here. It's going to be warm, stretching all the way up. Anywhere into these areas is going to have some warm weather here in those areas. And then mostly up here, a little bit cooler. It's warm, but not hot here. You are going to have some pretty warm weather in these areas. And then it does get very hot around here in Texas and Oklahoma. And also some very hot weather there in Arizona, California, and Nevada there tomorrow. Something you need to be weather aware for. Also, Utah is going to be pretty hot, not in the mountains. And then up in this region, a lot of cooler weather today. Also, there is some cooler weather over here. It's not going to be cold, but it's also not going to be hot. So, that is a good thing if you are planning on doing anything up there in the Northeast, as it's not going to be very steamy, luckily. We're also going to look at the potential weather on Sunday here. Today is Friday, and we are going to look at the potential weather on Sunday here. Let's see. So around 4 p.m. Central Time here on Sunday, we're going to be talking about some very warm weather centered. There's some warm weather up here, and then a lot of cool, and I mean very, very cool weather here centered into the northwest here in that area I circled. A lot of cooler weather is going to be likely here. But anywhere in this region is going to have some pretty warm weather here. That day, and then a little bit, it's going to be kind of warm, but a little bit cooler up in that region that I circled here. Also, some very steamy and hot weather here centered into that area that I circled, and a lot of areas of hot weather down in here, and over here, some very, very hot weather is potential. This is on Sunday here, so if you do have any plans, most of the U.S. is pretty warm on Sunday, Saturday, and Friday. But there are some cooler areas here. So I really do hope you guys did like this video here. I hope you guys liked this. And bye, guys.